here, and oh yeah, I know. Those roses, that yard, your team, yes, we're going to the Super Bowl. Paul says, hello. Stand before God. Stand with Jesus.
Amen.
See judgment. God is not going to say, so you're a Packers fan? Dodgers? Listen, I love my teams. But when Paul goes, hey dude, put on grandpa's glasses. What really matters? Well, all of a sudden what really matters are the things that I do to invest in and to love my family and to love my neighbor and to share Christ with others. If only we could just get a hold of that and just drink a glass of it. Because young people, the greatest gift that you can give to the young people in your world is to get them to take the long view. Because today, so much of culture tells young people, don't worry about tomorrow, man. Living my best life, right? I mean, I want to live my best life right now and right here. In fact, mark down number 3. I believe that Paul's words can help us to live out our best life with real purpose and real passion. But we have to understand how to do it. Do you know where the living my best life thing came from? I had to actually look it up. Back in 2005, Oprah. And then the memes start coming out, right? Like this guy here. Living my best life, right? And then I saw this one. I love this little girl. Look at her, man. Attitude. I'm living my best life. Get out of the way. And then recently, an artist that I love named Ben Rector did an album about joy. And he has a song in it, Living My Best Life. If you haven't listened to Ben Rector, Christian artist, by the way, but it's not Christian music. It's the kind of music everybody can listen to. But man, he weaves in some good God stuff in there. Ben Rector did that album because he had a baby in order to live your best life. Because only then can we see it and get it. Okay. So here's how Grandpa does it. Let's listen to him. 3 little verses that help me to live my best life. For I am already being poured out like a drink offering, and the time for my departure is near. And yet, he's talking about dying. The drink offering line is from the milk or wine or oil that would be poured out in the Old Testament in what's called an offering. And when it's poured out, it's gone. The cup's empty. It's gone. Paul says, I'm already in the process of being poured out. And my departure, the word he uses there is a Greek word that has when an army is going to decamp. It's not just leaving someplace. It is like, we're closing the fort. We're closing the camp. It is no more. Paul is saying as clearly as he can, Timothy, I'm not going to be here. And I'm kind of desperate that you understand this. And then he gives this amazing trio. I have fought the good fight. I have finished the race. I have kept the faith. And now there is in store for me a crown of righteousness, which the Lord, the righteous judge, will award me on that day. And not only to me, but also to all have longed for his appearing. He says, Timothy, buddy, look at me. Let me give you 5 real quick. He gives him 5 things about life. You want to live your best life? Here we go. Number 1, he says, Timothy, life has a finish line, and you need to see it. You need to get up in the morning and acknowledge it and see it. Now, whenever I preach sermons like this, I feel like the insurance guy. You know the insurance guy or gal? The one that comes to your house and says, you know, we haven't gone over your insurance in a while. Can we sit down and go through this? And they sit down and they're really nice, but they're really there to say, you're going to die. And that's why you need to have insurance. Now, Mrs. Walling, this is how much, if something should happen to Pastor Walling. And I'm like, why happened to me? Why can't it happen to her, right? I mean, I don't want it to. And I finally one time said, why are you always asking her about, what if she dies first? And then our insurance person said, oh, no. Statistics say it's about a 7 to 8 to 1 thing. thank you for the joyful news. I appreciate it, you know? But I'm glad my insurance person is one more person God sends into my life and says, hey, Wally, I know you're worried about this and that and this and that. Have you thought about this? You've got a limited number of days left. How are you going to use it? What's important? Paul says, unless you look at death, you cannot live life well. Because unlimited resources end up getting wasted. That's why with my Pepperdine students in my parables class, I started having them write eulogies, their own eulogy. Now, a eulogy is a speech that is given about your life at your funeral. So here are these 17 and 18-year-old freshmen going, what? Yeah, one day, I'm going to be the insurance guy. You're going to die. And when you do, what would you, if you dream the best life, living my best life, if you dream the best life possible, what would your eulogy sound like? And so they write it, and then we get together in a special thing up at our house, and we kind of pretend it's a funeral, and I say, well, we're here to remember 18 students who died altogether, tragically, and we'll now begin the reading. And they swap papers, and they read each other's eulogies. And it's so bizarre watching them listening to somebody else. And they go big, okay? They go really big. They're like, Bob Turlock lived to be 109 years old. He had been married for 70 years, had many children who loved him, and grandchildren and great-grandchildren, and died at that age during a game of tennis. You know, he was a multimillionaire, and he gave away money, and there's a hospital named after him, and you're just all this big picture awesome stuff. There's a documentary made about his awesome life and the way he loved and blessed Los Angeles. And I'm like, great! Now that we've looked at that, what do you need to be doing now if you want to end up there then? Well, you said you want to be married for 70 years. What kind of character traits do you need to be building if you want somebody to stick with you for 70 years? Faithfulness, commitment, patience, forgiveness. Can I get an amen on that one? You better be working on forgiveness, friend. And then you say, oh, and then millions of dollars, okay? If you want to be a really great business person, so what kind of qualities? How about hard work and showing up early and staying late and not complaining? And you say, oh, yeah, well, I want to be, he's going to give away all this money. Well, you better start practicing now. Because if you ain't going to be generous with $10, you won't be generous with $10 million either. You see what I'm saying? Paul says, he says, Wally, pay attention. First, life has a finish line, and you need to see it. That's why the Hebrew writer says, it is appointed on a man once to die. Sorry, people say, well, Pastor, this lesson is so depressing. Excuse me? Well, you're talking about me dying. Okay. Listen to these words from Paul. 2 Corinthians 5:1-8. For we know, everybody say no. No. You don't sound like you mean it. For we know that if the earthly tent we live in is destroyed, we have a building from God. Let me go on. In verse 7, he says this. We are always, everybody say confident. And everybody say no. That as long as we're at home in the body, we're away from the Lord, for we live by faith, not by sight. We're confident, I say, and we prefer to be away from the body. Why? Because then we will be home with the Lord. If talking about the end of your physical life chills you instead of thrills you, maybe you need to pause a second and say, oh, the end of my life here is not the end of my life with God forever and ever and ever and ever and ever and ever and ever, right? I mean, none of us have a death wish. It's not, Paul said, I struggle, but I want to be here, but I want to be there. It's like the couple I talked to a couple of weeks ago, who I'm going to say a wedding ceremony here in a few weeks. And I asked them, how long till the wedding? And she was like looking on her calendar, and this was more than a month ago. And she's like, well, he said, it's 49 days, Pastor. Well, congratulations. Wow. Now, I know that's because he's got buddies saying, dude, you only got 49 days left. If we're going to go do something fun, let's do it now, because you got 49 days left, and then it's over for you. No, I don't think think he was thinking that because when he said 49 days, he was like, 49 days. Because he knows at the end of that 49 days, it's something wonderful and new and marvelous he can only imagine. Friend, when a Christian meets death, wherever you are, you fight the fight for the truth in your family. And for your single, you fight to love those neighbors and love those friends and stand with your single friends and stand up and say, no, you don't have to be lonely because in Jesus Christ we have community together. You fight that fight. And as long as I'm at it, hey, Shepherd Church, you fight the fight. And I don't mean fight the fight politically. I don't mean fight the fight beating up somebody. You don't agree with me, I'll hit you with my Bible. That's not the fight. We are here, and our pastor leads us in being willing to go out and fight for Los Angeles. We're going to fight for the poor. We're going to fight for the needy. We're going to fight for the hurting. We're going to fight for the lonely. We're going to fight against racism. We're going to fight against the bullying. We're going to fight against those who are marginalized. Folks, there are lots of dumb fights. Don't get in them. But when you turn away, don't forget there's a good fight, and it is tough. And your enemy doesn't quit. And anybody who's baptized here and expect it to be just chill from now on, you're going to get knocked right out of your socks because Satan is always ready. And that's why Paul says, only when I'm ready to die can I say, I've fought the good fight. I walked into a pastor's office and saw a sign on his desk. The sign said, I am at war, I am in a battle. And I thought, ooh, things aren't good. This isn't gold, this isn't silver, this is like, I don't know, plastic or something. Really? I ran 13.2 stinking miles and this is it? And then I started looking at the finish line. For the next 3 hours after I came in, other people came in. They got the same medal I did. And I think someone were just doing a shuffle all the whole way, you know? Come here, put the medal on you. And then I found out that they closed the course at 6 hours, okay? You've heard this saying, go. Somebody's waiting for you to tell them the good news about Jesus. Somebody's waiting for you to reach out and say, I'm sorry, can we start over? And some of you here need to do just what those kids did today. But the choice is yours. The next right step. Bow your head. In fact, stand with me if you would.